In this video, we'll talk about the structure of economic data and what are the types of economic data that we might encounter. So we're going to be discussing four types of economic data that we encounter. The first data set that we'll talk about is called a cross-section or a cross-sectional data set. The second type is called time series. The third type is called pooled cross-section. And the fourth type is called a panel or longitudinal data. So let's start by talking about the cross-sectional data sets. So the best way to think about a cross-sectional data set is to think about any type of unit. This could be individuals, families or households, firms, schools, states, countries, etc. And you're collecting data on all of these different types of units or some of those or one of those at a particular point in time. Okay, so the idea here is that when we're thinking about cross-sectional data set, time isn't really important. Okay, it does not play a crucial role. You can think about maybe interviewing individuals or families in a particular year. So when you interview them, whether you interviewed them in January or October, will not matter so much. What matters is that you collected that information at a given point in time, and that year could be, that time period could be a year, right? So here time does not play a crucial role. And therefore that's why it's called a cross-section. Okay, now we also make this assumption about a cross-sectional data set when we work with those, that this data is actually coming from a random sample. Now I know you probably have heard this term a lot, or this phrase a lot, random sampling or random sample, but the idea here is that if we really want to estimate the effect of one variable on another, we should make sure that each unit that is in the population has the same chance of appearing in our sample. So you have a big population, and we are trying to really get some sort of a sample, and then that sample can tell us something about the population. Okay, so the idea here is that it should have the same chance of appearing in the sample. Okay, all of these different units that we're talking about. So if you're working with households or families, then each family should have the same chance of appearing in this sample. You should not, for example, if we were studying households or families in the United States, if we only interviewed families in California, that would not be nationally representative, and that would not be coming from a random sample, because we would be ignoring everybody else, and therefore a California family or a household would have a higher likelihood of ending up in our sample. Okay, so this is this sample that we collected will not be a random sample. Okay, so the idea is that random sampling with replacement generates observations that are independent and identically distributed. So there's more on this in a review in your book, and you can go through that. Okay, so the one thing that we want to keep in mind is that the random sample should be representative of the population. Okay, or your sample should be representative of the population. So if it's a random sample, then it probably would be representative of the population and would give us the best chance of learning about what's really going on in this population.